Cosmic Con Chapter 7 The Federation Con. It's been 2 months since our meeting at the Sydney restaurant where the seeds of the Federation of Earth Planets was first planted and talked about. Roger got 100 ships and our scientists taught his commanders how to operate the ships. They learned pretty quickly. Meanwhile, Stella was in charge of New Earth colonization. Using our experienced colonists, she was able to establish the colony within a month. Now there are more than 1.5 million people there and 20 US military ships. Roger found it normal to not follow military conventions and to just name the ships under the present commander or what the commander wants. And since each ship has its own AI, the commander was given free rein on how the AI should look like and be called. The military ships has always been kept secret even from our allies. They know we found a way to colonize a planet, and in that planet was data on a lot of advanced loony technologies. But not Leotech. The tasks of the colonizer scientists, engineers and military officers was to reverse engineer the ships, understand new technologies and create human hybrid tech for military and civilian use. The first task was the fusion reactor. The loonies were very advanced in this field and the human scientists were able to design a very practical device, one large and one portable, that can connect to our existing power grids, power our smaller colony villages, power all kinds of land, air and sea vehicles. It was actually useful for spaceships, but the spaceships have a much more powerful version. When Smoothie presented this tech, he distributed the tech to more than 500 manufacturers, mostly German and European. He also explained the funding sources and ownership and profit sharing. To familiarize the market, the Riots created 10,000 portable fusion reactors based on the human designs, and Tina sold it cheaply for a hefty 200 billion at 20 million each. She gave the money to Ron. Ron consolidated this money with the 10 trillion left with Olive to a general fund to fund any new tech and colony requirements. We realized the banks were too slow to move and the level of money required was too high. The next tech Smoothie will introduce would be communications and small to medium plasma weapons. This time he will give the franchise to Japan, South Korea, India and select Asian countries. To start the Japanese, Smoothie had the Japanese test the biggest plasma weapon designed on him. But they were not able to kill him. He refused to pay them the $1 trillion pay because the plasma power was much less than the nuclear weapon's power. The Japanese agreed anyway, hoping they could get rid of Smoothie. They were sad when they failed and Smoothie told them to try again next time, adding insult to injury. We met again at Amy's ship orbiting Earth a day before the reveal date. Matt, Tina, Ron, Chris and I have our own ships that we use for our work. We also gave Billy his ship to enable him to work clandestinely. Stella wanted her own ship and Matt agreed because he saw her needs. This time the U.S. Armada commander named General Alan Cook was present. Amy invited her best friend Carla, who she assigned as the New Earth colony governor. We agreed to only give ships to the big players who have long been our allies. In all, there were 25 countries. The big players were given 20 ships each, the smallest countries 3 ships. We also analyzed and narrowed the number of exoplanets the other countries can choose from 3,000 to 100. Olive plotted the best routes and placements of the TP ships but limited the number of ships per TP location to 1 for the chosen planets. Early on, Ron created the task force to study the alien economies and how we can trade with them. He did take a few of Billy's Stanford people, but he mixed European and Asian smart people into the group. He knew they would not finish on time, so he gave the directive to only concentrate on our strengths and best products to start. If he asked Olive, Amy, or Matt, he would have finished in no time, but he did not. To which I give him credit. Stella finalized the treaties that we expect will be signed by all. While Billy want these to be US-centric, Stella also made sure that this old way of thinking not be the norm in intergalactic relationships, starting with the basic treaties. She and Amy talked at length about the need for equality, liberty, freedom and development of a unified human civilization in our venture into the stars. It seems my standard speech made an impact on her. One of the things Stella asked Amy about is the biggest threat we will face in the next 100 years, and Amy said, none that we cannot handle. We will always prevail, for millions of years. Nobody else knows that Matt and Amy can see the future, except Mom and I. Olive actually knows more than the two knows because she has a direct link to their minds. This made all the AI copies known for being able to see the future. That is, once they found out they were all AI copies of an AI they do not know about. They also do not know that the Riots have given the 3 of us, and Chris, telekinesis and with Olive's help, instantaneous access to Olive's capabilities. So far the Riots have not been successful in replicating Matt and Amy's abilities. They used me as their test subject. And I think this is the cause of the failure, although Joe thinks otherwise. The 25 countries sent 5 people, their top 2 leaders, a top scientist, and 2 military leaders to the meeting. They were all made to sign an NDA on Earth before being approved to be teleported out. I made sure Joe went through all of them and get their information. Olive made sure none of these people are a threat to the meeting. Sometimes I get annoyed that Olive can be so overprotective of me, Amy, Matt and Mom, and later Chris and her father. She always insists that we wear the energy uniform as an inner underwear. And if we forget, she just does it anyway. We waited for the participants to be teleported in. Several Olives were ushering the guests to their chairs. There were 5 chairs per table facing the stage and Olive provided 5 tablets per table. On a raised stage, Amy, Matt and I sat dead center with my obviously pregnant wife between us. On my left was Billy, Roger, Ron, and Alan. On Matt's right was Stella, Tina, and Carla. The room was a large hall with floor-to-ceiling window on both sides. It was located at the front of Amy's ship. I wanted a dramatic entry with flashing lights but Matt argued against it because he wants us to look serious. He also wanted to show our real faces with our real names. Olive objected but I figured I will side with Matt on this. They were expecting Billy to start the meeting. Instead Matt stood at the center of the stage. "Good evening," Matt started. He introduced himself, Amy and I, Ron, Tina and Carla. Then he introduced Billy, Stella, Roger, and Alan. The crowd showed questioning looks when Billy and Stella was introduced last. Before you is a copy of the treaty to form the Federation of Earth Planets in paper form. It is also in your tablet. Matt pointed out the papers and tablets on the tables. I told Amy not to let her brother talk first precisely because he is just too direct. Amy countered by saying, "I will be joking around anyway so it's better to be serious first then joke later." I decided not to talk because, she's right, I will just joke around. You have a week to study the treaty. It's either you all sign it or you all do not sign it. There is no middle ground. Stella told Matt to say this. As part of the drama Billy stood beside Matt and, "Matt, what is this treaty all about?" Billy asked. "Well Billy, this treaty will enable the 25 countries here to choose their own planet from among the 100 we have screened for them. Can they choose more than one? They can and it's allowed in the treaty, but you know Billy, a planet is a pretty large place so I don't think wasting money to develop 2 planets may be economical. Who will help them with their infrastructures? The 2 colonies and Ron here will do that. He budgeted $8 trillion for the 25 planets. How will the countries go to and from their chosen planets? We will establish teleportation platforms in ships to do that." Then they could see Roger stand and stood beside Billy. "I understand you have finished deciding the allocation of the 300 spaceships?" Billy asked Roger. "Yes I have Mr. President." "Matt, can you explain what these spaceships are?" Matt waved his arm in a wide arc, for drama, and a holographic image of the ship appeared between the guests and the stage. This spaceship is the size of 100 aircraft carriers and can carry as many as 50,000 military personnel. We call this the Amy class of warships. Its normal complement is 2,000 personnel but it only needs one person, the commander, to fly it. It has a fully functioning AI that can run the ship by itself. Each Amy class ship has 100 small attack ships that we call dogs. It has 300 photon torpedoes in front and 200 laser cannon on each side. It has 10 levels and total inside space of about 8 million square feet including the launch bays. It has standard military shielding and the latest engine from a secret alien race that can travel 200 million light-years a day. "How much would it cost you to manufacture these kind of ships?" Billy asked. Matt looked at Ron and Ron shouted, $10 trillion per. So the 300 ships would be worth $3,000 trillion. A very hefty sum. And they get this for free? Well, Billy, they have to sign the treaty first. That includes the right to some of the technologies in the ship. Roger arranged his uniform and started going down the list of technologies. Olive provided a hollow of the list beside the ship. Then Roger sat. Stella stood and walked towards Matt. "Matt, Stella is the creator of the treaty. I think she should explain what the treaty is all about." "Thank you, Mr. President." Olive created a hollow of the list of points in the treaties. Stella started. "When I started to draft the treaties, I listed things we need to do to survive against all aliens in the galaxies. First, militarily we have to be our strongest and we should always be on track to develop weapons that would protect us, to protect our own. And we have to have them at a scale we have not imagined before. And we should keep our military capabilities secret, this is important. Second, the Federation should move as one in trade and finance. Take the Loonies, one of their planets on average has a GDP that is 3,000 times that of Earth. We are just one planet divided into countries. We can only compete with our smallness if we move as one. Third, we cannot allow fractiousness to define our federation when we relate with the aliens. We already are fractious and the intention of the treaties is to minimize, not eliminate, the division. They will exploit our fractiousness and this will be bad for us all. Last but most importantly, we should maintain our humanity, our individual cultures, social norms and basically our existing way of life. The Federation will be composed of countries with existing beliefs. We have to be open to all beliefs and cultures and the acceptance will make us stronger. We are strong because we are humans. And we will thrive for millions of years. You got me so emotional there, Stella. Matt joked. A stage joke. Matt is not like this. How about the leadership of the Federation? Billy asked. It's spelled out in the treaties. One provision that may be contentious with the signers is the leadership of the US not only in the military because we already have 100 spaceships deployed, but also in trade, primarily because the US is funding the initial infrastructure needs, and the Federation leadership under Amy here who is American. However, the leadership of the Federation Space Armada will be chosen by the Armada countries from among their commanders. Stella answered. This discussion is being recorded and will be in your tablets. The AI on those tablets will answer any questions you have including the technical ones. I encourage you to read the paper treaty and sign the treaty on your tablets, Matt said as an intermission. Matt, I am curious about what is happening in our Olympus and New Earth colonies. How is life out there? Billy pretended. Billy, frankly, I have no idea. Why don't we call Ron to explain to us what's up with Olympus and Carla on New Earth? Matt said with fake emotions of surprise. Ron stood and Olive provided a holo of the planet, the invisible ships, the underground facilities and the TP ships. Ron explained the latest happenings in the colony including some scandalous situations and the propensity of the colonists for practical jokes. He explained the loonies have brainwashed our people to always think of practical jokes. Carla was on cue. Mr. President, we now have around 1,500,000 people on the planet. Housing has been completed for everyone and several industrial complexes have been put up to manufacture small spaceships and drones. We have Toyota, Honda, and Samsung working on these. The military has 20 ships in orbit and are studying strategies and tactics. We are facing labor shortages and this will curtail our timetable. Again Olive provided the effects. I see that you have maintained the pristine condition of Olympus. Billy pretended. Yes, the loonies told us to do so since they do this with all their planets and our colony planet is in the middle of their 10 planets. If we can put anything underground we will. If not we will just make it invisible. It's not hard at all even if we have more than 10 million people, Roger said. He related how a regular day for a colonist play out which included practical jokes. As you can see Mr. President our planet has no human signature on the surface. We are either underground, actually in a large cave under this mountain here or invisible. Some of our scientists are working in the ships in orbit. Some of our people still live on Earth and commute to New Earth every day, Carla pointed out. She also related how a regular New Earth colonist day play out without the practical jokes. Stella, I have one last question. What if I want to leave the Federation? You can't. The treaty is explicit in saying that if anyone leaves the Federation is dissolved. The only way for any one country to leave is to be taken over by another country or join another country. Stella answered firmly. The reason for this is that we function as all for one or one for all. We must protect and help our own. You cannot be on your own alone, or they can just stay quiet, Matt added. I'm convinced that this is a good thing, Billy said and added. I hope our guests will sign the treaties before they leave. Olive pretended to approach Matt and Billy and whisper something. She actually pretended to whisper something but she did not whisper anything. We knew everybody signed already. Matt can be a dick sometimes, he addressed our guests. By the way, we need 5 signatures on the contract for each country not 1. But he got the job done in 2 minutes. The Olives ushered our guests to the reception hall for some snacks. We all shook hands and hugged on stage. See John, that went pretty well and you did not have to talk. Matt kidded me. You had to be a dick with the signatures. We agreed that we only wanted 1 and you wanted 5. I said and Billy laughed. It's actually good for posterity, Tina added. Olive went around and had a tablet with the treaty. You have to sign this. All of you. I looked at her and said, including you, I can be a dick too as I signed away. I guess that's the first treaty where an AI signature is included, Tina said. The next day I saw my wife dressed in a pregnant dress, rather formal, I thought. It's my first meeting as head of the Federation tonight. Do you want me to come with you? You can. But you have to pretend you're doing something else in my ship? Why not just change to look like Olive? You can do that. Just talk telepathically and shut your mouth. Amy decided to meet with the leaders of the largest and closest 6 countries first and go down the line. She was meeting with Germany, Japan, India, UK, France and Canada. We met at the same hall where the treaties were signed. Now there were plants and flowers all around with a single conference table in the middle. It has 6 flags and the Federation flag. We saw the 6 representatives were looking at space as we walked in. I sat Amy down and sat beside her. Stand behind me. You know Olive never sits? She told me telepathically. I stood up behind my wife. Now I see my problem. Don't touch my neck. No, I'm not. I know you will. You have the urge to massage my neck. Okay, just a one-hand massage. Amy did not stand to seat the representatives. She gestured them to sit and they sat behind their flags. How many months to go? The Lady Chancellor from Germany asked. Less than 2 months more. Amy smiled. You are so young to be the head of the Federation, the Canadian Prime Minister said. Amy wanted a formal introduction around the table. I am Chancellor Maria Bartel, she's German, I know that. I am Prime Minister Justine Paul. He's Canadian but looks American. I am Prime Minister Daruka Badal. He's Indian but maybe one of his parents is white. I am President Adeline Joubert. She's obviously French. French hairstyle too. I am Prime Minister Oliver Stan. Very British. I am James Tanaka. He's the Japanese Prime Minister but looks like he's from California because of his accent. No hint of Japanese at all. Olive has provided me your top 3 choices of planets. Amy began. I asked telepathically. Shut up. Amy mind shouted. Those are all good planets. And you all wanted 2 planets each. I would suggest that you choose your primary and choose a second that is within 40 mly away so teleportation would be direct. They all fidgeted with their tablets and decided on their primary and secondary planets. These are all doable. Olive marked the planets as reserved. Just remember, a planet is really a big place. We can only spend on one. How much are you willing to spend on a planet? James asked. $100 billion for infrastructure only per country for the primary planet only. When are we getting our 20 ships? Oliver asked. Each ship needs at least 2,000 personnel to be an effective military ship. You get it as soon as you fill in the 2,000 needed personnel for one ship, then you get the second one if you have another 2,000 personnel and so on. You get your 20 ships total if you have 40,000 troops. You have 6 months to do so, otherwise, you lose the ship. The 2,000 need not be all military. They can be science and exploration ships. I told my wife. She repeated what I said. Where did you get the ships? Daruka asked. We got them from a very secretive species who does not want to be known. How did you get them? Justine asked. My brother asked and they gave us 700 ships. And my husband told them how to deliver the ships. Why did they give you the ships? Maria asked this time. Because we gave them a chance to learn things. Very good, sweetheart. That's very true. And also because they were not very good at negotiating anything. I love you. I quipped telepathically and Amy just kept quiet. About what? Maria added. They are very secretive and I am bound to them not to tell you. Are you working with Smoothie? James asked this time. Yes. Smoothie works for me. But he works for you too. Smart, I married a genius. I shouted at Amy who was not reacting. So the money you were spending on the planets came from Smoothie? No, Amy said. Absolutely correct, my love. They came from where we stole them from. I said. The treaty regarded you as the de facto leader and chairman of the Federation. Adeline asked this time. Yes, I was the one who thought about it. Vice Chairman Stella and I talked at length on what I want the treaty should have and what she wanted to look like. Amy said. That's so true. You are also the one who can make it happen. Tell them that. I said, hoping my wife will give me a reward. We feel we did not have a choice. Daruka said. You always have a choice. To sign or not to sign. To leave Earth or not to leave Earth. To advance into the galaxies or not to advance. To be united with other humans as one species or not. To decide for your people or for yourself. To want to enrich yourself in the process or not to enrich yourself. Your choices are endless. When you find out your daughter has cancer today, it was a good thing you signed up because the cosmos has a solution to your daughter's illness. This means your choices are not only because of the now and before but also the future. Choices are complicated and you had a lot of choices. That comment irritated my wife. You are so young to lead. But I see you are very wise. Daruka commented. Okay, a comeback. Well, I also graduated top honors without knowing anything about courses. I said and she looked at me exasperated. Shut up, John. Now you made me forget what I wanted to say. Fool. She shouted in my head but remained quiet. I laughed a loud laugh. Do we get to have our own teleportation platform? Justine asked. No, you ask the AI assigned to you and she will do this for you. Are these AIs working for you? They are working for Olive here. Olive is working for me, my husband, and my brother. Your AI can predict the future. I have seen it myself. You have a very powerful AI, Maria said. You have no idea. We would like to survey our chosen planets, James said. The TPs are in place. Just ask your AI. If you need any information or anything material, just ask her and she will make it happen for you, Amy said. When the leaders left. Gosh, little Johnny, you are such a riot, Amy said, holding her belly. No, I'm not, I said. Not you, you fool. Amy had to meet 19 more leaders that night. Olive made sure that Stella had all the meeting recordings. I noticed that as the countries become less rich, they were less formal, less condescending, and the talk was more personal, especially the Asian countries. She met them 6 at a time. The 19th country she had to meet with was the Philippines, and Amy did a one-on-one. She spoke in Filipino, always talked very respectfully, and the Filipino president was amazed. They talked about food, picadillo, which was her brother's favorite, her favorite pancit, and adobo. That she married into a half Filipino family and her children will be 1/4 Filipino. The two serious things they talked about was the need for immigrants to our 2 colony planets and her willingness to fund the increase in Filipino military to more than 3 million people. She told her to connect with Ron because he needs at least 4 million workers for the infrastructure projects. She said she is very familiar with the OCW program that is the secret of the Philippine economy. The president was so proud and felt the usual kinship Filipinos have when far from home. He did promise the world to her. Something I will do too, but never told her. I know, you idiot. I heard her shout in my head. Coming home, we had dinner with Matt at Mom's house with Dr. David. Mom invited Ron and Tina to come over for dinner as well. It was a nice steak dinner courtesy of Super Smoothie, who got steaks and sides from our favorite restaurant in Australia. He related how he fell in line to buy the steaks and he had to conduct an interview with people buying steaks. Some people were angry when they found out about the government request to spare some people. He promised the people to do something about this. Smoothie did not stay since he had word to do. Mom was piqued. What was the government request? She asked Amy. Amy had to explain what happened and how Smoothie agreed. I sensed something and I had to tell Mom that. Don't worry, Mom, we are watching all of them and gathering information so that the conditions Smoothie set were met. Then I realized, what if it involved the new Earth planets? Amy looked at me and mine said, then we have to investigate as well. Right after dinner we had a meeting with Ron and Tina across the street. Olive appeared, sensing our urgency. I started questioning Matt and Amy's minds on the bad guys' activities with our Federation colonies. And I found out a lot already. As usual, Olive provided the top-level details. 12 of the countries are involved. 8 involved their top leaders. 6 groups of business powerhouses are involved. I have identified 22 of these businesses' leadership, although I know who are all involved. Their main purpose is to dominate the colonization activities and even control one of the 2 planets chosen. They wield over $3 trillion in funding. What luck. An opening? I said. Just be nice, Amy said. John, I think this will help in our money issues, Ron added. I think it makes work easier for me, Tina chimed in. Okay, Olive, tell Smoothie that whenever he has time that he appear before all the leadership and tell them to be available tomorrow night at 6 p.m. for a meeting. I can knock out some fillers in his schedule. This will free up 6 hours of his time until tomorrow, Olive said. Well, if he has 6 hours, tell him to get into these people so we would know what they know, I said. The next day Smoothie, Matt and I, with Tina and Ron, met with the bad guys. We teleported them into an empty ship in space. Olive was very kind to provide chairs for them to sit on. Matt started, Good evening. First, just so you know, we teleported you all to a ship in space, so there is no way off this ship. Second, I want you all to listen very well to what we will tell you to do. Matt looked at me. They all shouted and moved around trying to run, but they soon realized they were in a see-through box. We let the realization sink into them. Please sit. Matt forgot to tell you that you are in a box in a spaceship. Intentionally. We have read all your minds and we know what you know. Because we are nice people, we would like to tell you what we would do before we do it to you. We will change your mind to only follow Smoothie, Olive, Matt and me. You will not decide anything unless we tell you and if it is within our original instructions to you. Our general instruction to you is that we would like you to work so that humans can thrive in the galaxies for millions of years. You will not enrich yourselves and will not corrupt anybody to do anything that will veer away from this objective, I said. Matt continued, Right now I will give you a choice. Promise to do this, and if you fail we will change your mind. Are you sure, Matt? I asked. Actually, all of them will not change. Let's just change their minds, Matt said and looked at Smoothie. Smoothie proceeded to change their minds. Since he did not have to read them, he just changed the way they think. It took him 20 minutes to do this. You know 4 of the leaders will be assassinated by their people for changing, Matt said. Then we'll change the next 10 successors, I said. Okay, that will work, Matt agreed. Why don't we ask them to pool their money so we can control their funds, Ron suggested. We'll tell them that would be their first order for the day to deliver their money to you, Matt said. To a pooling account of our major nonprofit. Then I can redirect their money to wherever Tina wants to use them for, Ron said. After Smoothie was done with his mind-altering chores, Ron told the group to transfer half of their money to the nonprofit's account within a week. Then Seth sent them back to where we got them. Tina later reported that we got $6 trillion from the bad guys. This intrigued Ron because it was much more than what Olive was able to gather. So he asked for the details, financial reports, and business summaries from the bad guys. It was an eye-opener. These guys were everywhere. Ron decided not to push for the other half since it would disrupt the world economy. Later I asked, Olive, did you tell me about the bad guys? She seemed interested before. No, she's not. The only thing she would tell me to do is to keep you, Amy and Matt safe. Now I can't get annoyed with Olive for always telling us to wear our energy armor. She was following Mom's orders,